They said justice was fair. 3 years and 6 months. That's what my mother's life was worth. Later on a bus, the protagonist stared at his ghostly reflection in the window. The doors hissed open at a stop, and our antagonist, already free and harassing an innocent bus driver, slapped the living soul out of him. You dare report me to the cops? Call the damn cops. I'll be off the streets for a few days at most for something like this. He kicked him as he curled on the ground, and the protagonist understood. This was the justice the system protected. As the man staggered away, he saw the man using the phone. He approached and said, "What, you want to call the cops too?" he challenged, but the man, just listening to music. He walked away. Behind him, a woman knelt by the bloodied driver. Should we call the cops? The protagonist followed after him. The antagonist took out a cigarette and lit it, led him into a narrow alley. He stopped and spun around with a nasty grin. They confronted each other.
"Hey you, come here. You got a death wish?" he slurred. The protagonist asked how many priors he had. He laughed, a proud blush on his cheeks. "I've got 18 priors, kid." The protagonist asked how a monster like him could roam free. He threw a punch, but the protagonist was faster. He threw a punch and his fist cracked against his jaw. The shock in the antagonist's eyes was noticeable. He threw a hook, but the protagonist dodged. The protagonist didn't stop. He drove his fist into the man's solar plexus. He collapsed to his knees, gasping, looking up at the figure looming over him. Who are you?" he choked out. Protagonist said, "Remember, you said you deeply regretted your actions," before he had completed his sentence. The man roared, a raw sound of pain and fury, and launched himself forward. "I'll kill you!" he screamed. He managed to tackle the protagonist. As a heavy fist rose up to crush him, the protagonist's hand shot out with impossible speed, and his fingers clawed into the man's lower jaw. He yelled in pain, "Let go of me!" Then protagonist used the man's own momentum against him. He rolled, twisting the man's head, and in a flash, he was behind him. Smartly, he smashed the man's face against the solid concrete. The sickening crunch of bone followed by a wet, choked gasp from the man now broken on the ground. As the man lay twitching, the protagonist's mind was pulled back into the past. He was tormented by the memory of the day his mother was killed by a neighborhood brute. A simple bump on a busy street, and antagonist anger did the rest. She never woke up. The judge gave antagonist mercy, 3.5 years. The protagonist slid a cold metal knuckle duster onto his hand. "Thank you for staying the worthless piece of garbage you've always been." He lands a devastating punch in the exact same spot, pulverizing the jaw he had already shattered. He didn't just hit him. He delivered a methodical, punishing rhythm of blows. Each punch. The man's body convulsed on the ground, and with every impact, the protagonist felt a wave of transcendent clarity. "This is it," he breathed, his voice steady and sure. "This is what justice truly feels like." He looked down at the bloody wreck, his eyes holding a deadly promise. The memory shifted to a peaceful morning, a sun-drenched school filled with the sound of chatter and birds. Our protagonist arrived at school, a classmate called out, grinning. "Yo, top of the class. Congrats, man." The protagonist smiled modestly. "What are you talking about? That's not even a thing." "Everyone knows you're the best," his friend said. The protagonist just nodded humbly, hiding something deeper behind his eyes. Later, life didn't slow down. Two fighters lock eyes. No words, just tension. The student grips first, firm and focused, claiming control. The student's body moves faster than thought, which shakes the mat. The master hits hard. The crowd exhales. The coach shouts, "Keep going!" And momentum doesn't stop here. Two onlookers appear at the door, watching in disbelief. "That's Protagonist," one says. "He's built like a champion." "Not just built," the other adds. "He tops every sport, even academics. Brains and brawn. Some people really do have it all." The coach smiles, proud as he talks about watching his student grow. Inside the locker room, the protagonist changes while a teammate walks in behind him. Teammate reminds him, "Don't forget the project in the seminar room." "Got it," he says. He pauses, holding something dark in his hand. A photo of his mother inside the wallet. He closes the locker. Later, students gather in a seminar room. Lecturer asked to share correctional policies on other nations. The class nerd jumps in. Can't wait to show off his Middle East research. He shoots his hand up for his research topic. The instructor warns him not to show any brutal pictures. The student brushes it off, then starts his presentation. He talks about weak punishments for violent crimes. He insists victims' rights should come before the offenders. The lecturer steps in. It's not the assignment's focus. The student argues back that victims' pain is ignored. He points toward the protagonist, asking for his view. The protagonist smiles, saying police exist for justice, not revenge. He faces the room and says, "Law must stay clear, calm, and fair." He ends the debate, and just like that, the topic's off scope. The student sighs, calling him cold-blooded for not siding with victims. The class murmurs while he stays composed with a smile. The lecture ends. He gathers his papers and leaves the room. Later, the student asks where he spends weekends. Police station, he replies. The challenger goes, every weekend? Not really, he says. After class, he's there walking behind 2 classmates. At the station sign, everyone said their farewells. 2 classmates whispered, he's heading to the station again. They smile, saying he's flawless and pride of their class. Protagonist boards the city bus. Here comes the destination, Ahung Police Station. Inside the Major Crimes Division, a detective spots him. Hey, you're early again. He just shrugs. Just got here. The detective laughs, saying, you're lying. I'll check the CCTV myself. The detective mutters to his fellow, careful, he might outrank us soon. Protagonist says he wants to discuss something. The busy detective says, stay here. He remains seated while the 2 of them were discussing something. He calmly absorbs the room. Something in his sight set his instincts on fire. A monitor showing top-tier suspect personal information. His eyes went wide. He shouldn't have seen this. Suddenly, the detective leaned on the desk. Hey, you there? The detective apologizes for being too busy to talk. He replies, it's fine. I came unannounced. As they walk outside, detective promises to grab food next time. He walks out of the police station. Inside, an officer says, this kid is a victim, right? The detective nods. Yeah, he exhales. To go through all that and still top the police university. He adds that every week he visits, calls me his mentor. He's grown into a fine young man. If his mother were alive, she'd be proud. Every Friday through Sunday, his ritual begins. That's when he hunts. He came up with a strategy while visiting the station. Sometimes he would find information, but mostly, it's a ritual now. A ritual to keep him alive. He chooses prey by 2 rules. Short sentence, repeated sin. Today's night is his hunting day. The pervert doctor, who secretly took private pictures of her female patients, gets no punishment by the law. Even his license was not revoked, ready to start again. A clinic made for something worse. The doctor is using the computer. A chat pops up. Someone asks if he's the online doctor and needs confidential help. He replies and tells her to send the affected area. She sends a private image to which he reacts. Damn. He offers in-person treatment. She gives an address and promises triple pay. The doctor gets excited. Of course, you dumb bee. He readies gear, injection, and suits up. Camera in hand, thinking this video will be perfect. The same chat shows on a stranger's phone. He drops the phone into a street drain. Here comes the protagonist, taking over the vigilante persona. The city looks clean, but terrifying. The doctor is walking, eyes fixed on his phone. This way, right? Navigating his way to a trap. He arrives at a narrow alley, and a guy is walking towards him. They bumped into each other. Oh, sorry. The doctor apologized. The doctor keeps walking, unaware of any danger. The hooded guy lifts a wallet. Are you Mr. Acker? He asks. The doctor checks his pockets, confirming yes, it's mine. He takes the wallet from the protagonist and thanks him. Without warning, protagonist punches his face, blood everywhere. Another punch follows, a brutal strike on the jaw. He grips his jacket and slams him. The doctor's head is covered in blood. Protagonist looms above him as he lies in pain. He opens the doctor's bag, finding needles and a camera, and preparing a syringe. Syringes pierce through the doctor's body. He drags the doctor to a machine. He loosens the vice while blaming the system that let him go. Protagonist looks down with a horrific smile, making sure to end it.